जयपुर वाया कोटा।
कृपया ध्यान आपको अहमदाबाद
दिल्ली में आपका स्वागत।
Lucknow Junction.
ನಿಲ್ದಾಣದ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಹೊರಟಿರುವರೈ
পরবর্তী স্টেশন নেতাজি ভবন। कृपया ध्यान दियो।
Well, we said it's going to be a Friday feast, and on the menu on this feast were runs, and more runs. Absolute mayhem in Mohali. Welcome back to Cricbuzz Live. I'm Saiyami Kher. I have Pommie and Harsha with me. 257 runs in 20 overs.
If I had to describe this innings by the way we were watching it in one sentence, I mean, okay, before that, really what I loved about it was that everyone just came and got going. Nobody was trying to block. Nobody was trying to say, okay, I'll get myself in. They realized, hang on, we're on a good track wicket here. I thought Kyle Mayer's 54 of 24 in many ways was the best innings of them all. Because he set the pace and he said, this is how we're going to bat. Stoinis was magnificent. A little bit of luck here and there that you get in every innings. What about Badoni, Pooran? Everyone just kept going. Now, at one point, if you remember, 195, 197, I'm being polite to the anchor. So 195, 197. Pommie said, they're going to go past 200. And they're about 220 or so. And he said, they're going to get 250. And that is what this innings was.
Yeah.
We just said, how much are they going to get? And they just kept going.
Because in the com box, Pommie, you know, usually in the com box, they were, I forgot what they were at, they were 120 at the 10 over point, I think, somewhere there. 128 at the 10 over point. And, you know, we spoke, and like our usual, you've been, you know, doing the com box for some time. And Harsha said you can't expect them to get a 250 because it's just, you can't expect them to get a 250.
I mean, 128, you don't double.
Yeah, and well, they've got a 257.
And maybe we are at the stage where you do. Remember at the beginning of the game, you said we're talking about how there's some tentative teams, and the expectation is, you know, teams have got to be fearless, you know, take the aggressive option. And when conditions absolutely suit, and you've got to say that today they did, then there is no excuse for not going out at your opposition and looking to try and put them to the sword. And if you do, then you'll figure out where you can get to, particularly with so many resources that you have. Imagine the conservative option today. And if the conservative option is taken today and they end up 220 or whatever it is, it'd be way short, right? And then, we can't sit here and think 250 odd is safe, because it's not, because the conditions are that good. So if a few get on a roll, they get some sort of a start, it makes it difficult. So on the day, if the conditions allow, you just keep going at it. And it's difficult for anybody to stop.
You know, normally we sit and say how many overs were double-digit overs in an innings. I was just sitting and counting how many overs were single-digit overs. At the end of one over, you know what the score was? 2 for no loss. Proper, playing, single. No, but they batted beautiful.
But we saw the progression. We saw the progression there, and we saw that, you know, we spoke about how in the last game, the 11 to 15th, and then the 15 to 20th, they really struggled. The progression card there just kept showing 11, 12, 14, 12, 13, 11, 14.
I don't know what you, Pommie, my favorite number in there is 7 to 10. You get 14.6 from 16 to 20.
Yeah.
But 7 to 10, they actually went above the power play score. They just kept going. They didn't pull back in 7 to 10.
And for me, no wickets lost, and then you've got to think about when the wickets were lost in the first phase. So if you come out of that first phase and you have any sort of momentum, the idea is to try and carry it on in the phase of the game that, when we look back at 2020 cricket, has been the most quiet. So if you can now win that phase, and think to the way England, for instance, took the 50-over game by storm, where many teams would come in and they'd start up front and then they'd go into this lull. And they scored, I think, in the one season, they were scoring scores of 400, and it seemed ridiculous. And they'd get bowled out the next time.
They missed out scoring 500 once.
Yeah, and they'd get bowled out the next time for 200 or whatever it is, 140. And yet they'd say, no, don't worry about that. we still keep going because we're trying to figure out a way how we're going to level it out at some point. But our trait, the way to play is aggressive in this middle period. It's so long that if you win that part, then the deficiencies of the beginning and the end can be covered up. So if you figure out how to play it there and you can play it aggressively, you're going to have this point of difference that's going to be difficult to compensate for your opposition.
You know, I'm sitting here, I'm the anchor. That's why I don't understand anything and I just make silly comments because...
Do you?
Yes, because the start of the game...
feel like that.
Are you fishing?
The start of the game, I said that, maybe you should keep Stoinis out and Quinton de Kock should come in. Clearly, I've got it all wrong because Stoinis, that's 72 that he's got, 40 balls, he struck it of 180 and he had those two big partnerships that went, Lucknow's way.
It was only partnerships. I mean, if you look, 41, 33, 90, 80, they just didn't stop scoring. That is what I loved most about this innings. Stoinis dropped, he still keeps going for it. They've had their moments of luck. Don't ever, very first ball, one catch is taken by a good fielder on the boundary, just the heel touches the rope. So they've had their moments of luck. One goes up, falls short of the keeper. But you earn your luck. No? When you keep playing like this, when you tell luck, I don't care for you, luck follows you. So, I mean, 89 and 47, that was the idea of sending Badoni at 3, would that have brought a sense of relief to Huda or a sense of loss, but it's good for the team?
Yeah, I think that, and I think I mentioned this to both of you in the sitting there, Huda hasn't scored runs.
No, highest 17.
Yeah, and when you have to go and bat at 3, I think it's different to when you have to come in like he's done there and there are, 3 overs to go and you've got to try and strike a few of those out the ground. The game is set up entirely differently. And for Badoni, it's probably better for him because he is more a top order kind of guy. Yes, he likes to go after it, but he goes after it in trying to set up the game. And so they're different roles. I think Huda, where he batted today, is where they should use him because he's particularly good there. Stands there, I need to hit 1 6 out of 3 balls. And it's kind of that much simpler, isn't it, for him?
You know, Harsha, Badoni also today was almost like Conway when you don't realize he's made those runs. Because when we were doing the com box, our producer came in and said, oh, Badoni's made so much.
Because you were watching Mayers and watching Stoinis. Yeah. First you're watching Mayers, then you're watching Stoinis. And guess what? In between, what has he done?
43
of 24,
yes.
Striking at 180. I mean, he's striking below par in the innings, but you don't always say that on 180. He's striking 180,
but then,
you take that any
Pooran
day.
came in and made the compensation for 180. He was striking at 230 plus because Pooran came and he's got 45 of 19. That's what Pooran's done.
Nicholas Pooran this year has been everything that Sunrisers hoped he would be last year. And it's amazing. We see that in football a lot. Sometimes you just move from one franchise to the other, from one club to the other. Something gets unlocked. In football, maybe it's because you get the ball at your feet more often, but that's okay. That's for a longer story. Sometimes just something clicks. And I think for Nicholas Pooran, it was that T10 tournament in Abu Dhabi that must have unlocked something because he went there and played like a monster. And he's carried that monster form into this tournament.
Pommie, he's a big contender for our white cap we spoke about yesterday. Well, he came in earlier today, but Harsha wasn't here yesterday. And
Here you go. He came in when Badoni got out, right? He came in the 14th over.
14th over. So
and
our
he made 45 from there.
Our white cap rules are for people who play after the 15th over. This was done thanks to Michael yesterday. He signed a big petition to Cricbuzz and said that we need a white cap stat as well. And well, Cricbuzz was kind enough to give those stats and well, the petition went through. So this was an idea which was generated here at Cricbuzz Live.
Petitions generally force people's hands. You know, you know what I mean? Anyway, that's a story for another day.
Yes.
But the principle is the same in talking about Pooran, where a base is set and you come and you shift the needle. That's basically what he did. So it turned up, and in a game that was already going at 2 runs a ball, he shifted it. And that's kind of difficult to do. If he'd gone out and batted and he'd got and struck at 200 or 175, whatever it is, you think, oh, gee, well played. but he shifted it and he struck nearly 250. That's, and he's always kind of been this guy who has this talent, who can do this. And many of the franchises, Punjab Kings included, would have liked this sort of thing to happen when he was in their colours. He's a special player to watch. In the Caribbean, where he's from, Trinidad, that's what he does. So to them, they'll go, Pooran doing what Pooran does.
For 3-4 years, we've all been talking about Pooran until a point came and people said, what on earth are you talking about? But that's why we think he's a very special kid.
You know, I'm told to do a certain job when we come on the mid-match shows that we see the batting and then we see the bowling. But today I'm just feeling so bad to even see the bowling.
No, I'll tell you why we must see the bowling.
But we should have a look at the bowling card.
First of all, Pommie was a bowler, so we must see the bowling. I'm going to make a slightly offbeat opinion. I think Arshdeep Singh has bowled much, much better. You look at 4 overs, 1 for 54, and you say, he had a bad day. I think he's bowled a lot better than that.
Yeah, so do you know what? 12s, 13s, right? So you're going 12-ish and below is a good day because you've got to understand what's happening on the day. Right? And all those bowlers, they'll say...
Rahul Chahar has had a great day then.
That's a fantastic outing. It's out of this world. It's like a guy turns up and he bowls 4 overs, none or 1 for, 17. In any T20 game, you see that. And it's because of the way we work with the numbers, we understand that. But when he bowls 12 runs and over and the game's going at 13 and 14 runs and over, you're winning the game for your side. So that's why I say anyone who's sort of 12, 12 and a half and below, they've done a good job because the conditions say anyone who walked in and batted was able to strike at more than 135. So that's a tough day for all the bowlers. So you've got to do your job in that regard, and you've got to be philosophical about the numbers and analyse them properly.
Well, one thing that Punjab has, probably the only thing to celebrate, is that Shikhar's back in the team. So that gives them a little bit of breathing when it comes to the 257 target, because you need a Shikhar Dhawan when you have 257 runs on the board.
And you need a Sikandar Raza, and you need a Liam Livingstone, and you need Prabh Simran and Jitesh and everybody. Yeah, that striker at 146 is excellent. Today he'll have to get a move on right away, because you're starting at 12.85. At some point, it'll go to 14, 15. You can't let that phase you, but you can't let it go to 18, 19. So they've got to get going straight away. But also keep in mind the first over went for 2 and they made 257.
The issue, I think the issue is control. So you can get, try too hard some of the time. And teams, because of scoreboard pressure, will try and whack it too hard. But the conditions suggest that when you're controlled enough, you'll be able to beat the bowler, because he doesn't have much to work with. And he has to be absolutely spot on in order to win the day, so to speak. So it's a batter's day today.
Who would have thought Rabada, Arshdeep, Sam Curran, and the opposition would make 257.
Just one of those days.
Maybe it's just that the pitch got up one morning and said, I am the star, I don't care who you are.
Yeah, I mean, we said that too many low-scoring games this IPL, 136, and these, it's not fair. So we have to have 250 plus. That's what they've given us. Yeah. But, well, Naveen-ul-Haq is somebody who's been very impressive. He's somebody who, has done very well in the first few power play overs. Can we expect something from him on this kind of a wicket today?
I think in this tournament, he's balled, 4 overs, 18, 19, those 19, kind of figures? That's not going to happen today.
So if it does, we're in for a dud.
If it does, you just give the keys to the city.
Yeah.
But I think the good thing with Naveen-ul-Haq, you don't see a lot of him as an international cricketer. See the number of matches he's played. And you see a lot of these players around the world, they go and play in all the leagues, and so they have experience of so many different kinds of situations, different kinds of pitches. So they may not be big megastar international names. Naveen-ul-Haq is not Ben Stokes, but he's played 130 games. And he's been thrown into death over situations, he's been thrown into power play situations, and he's been thrown in each of those at least 25 times.
True.
And out of all of it, across 134 games, averages runs per over 8. Think about
Every
that.
time I see him, he's bowling towards the end.
Yeah,
so it's
and the
very good
beginning
to
and
have,
the
yeah.
end.
Beginning and
Beginning
the
and
end.
So,
Yeah, just
so
like Ashdeep.
think about that, like
Yeah.
8 and over. And which game, which T20 game, wherever you are, is a 160 game. Not many. You don't win with 260 generally. So
But Pommie, as a bowler, when you see a track like this, what's going on in your mind? 257 to defend and a track like this.
I think hamstrings get sore. I said before, you have to be philosophical about what's happening, and you have to be good, I think, with the analysis of what is needed on any given day, in any given conditions. At Chinnaswamy, for instance, you know that the game is 10 runs and over game, right? So it's no point thinking, oh, I'm going to be going at 6s and 7s and 8s today. No, because that's not how it's going to work. If you end up there, that's great. But you have to understand that your target is to be just below 10. Then you're helping your side.
Great. I'll tell myself, if I go 4 overs 44, well done. I've saved those many runs for my side. I was expected to go 4 overs 52.
Yeah.
I've gone 4 overs 42, 43. I've saved 10 runs for my side. It's like a batter coming out making 10 at the end. If every bowler goes 4 overs 45, you won the game.
Yeah. Well, there's a game that we didn't win at all. We were far from winning that game.
Yeah, but
But it's one of those days. Don't count that first innings. Let's focus on the second innings because, well, we were far away in the first innings. So your power play prediction is going to be...
You want me to go first? I'll go first. They're going to get 70 in the power play.
I'm going 60 for 3.
Oh, for 3, you've given the wickets as well. You wanted to end fast.
Shri Bhogle! Shri Bhogle, the oracle. Oh my goodness.
I fear it might come back to
this.
haunt me. I just think that they might go too hard and lose wickets.
Yeah, that looks like a possibility.
I'm just
not being
going
brave
with
and
the
giving any
conditions.
wickets. I'm going to go with 74. So we've got 70,
Oh.
74 and
And
60 for 3.
No,
Because-
60.
Okay, so 60, 70 and 74 is what we've got. Like I said, we had only runs on the menu, but Gaurav Kapoor's ordered a whole lot of food for us on from the menu today. So we are going to go and have our dinner. But we'll see you at the 10 over point at the Cricbuzz com box.
Jaipur via Kota.
कृपया ध्यान आपको अहमदाबाद
दिल्ली में आपका स्वागत
ನಿಲ್ದಾಣದ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಹೊರಟಿರುವರೈ
পরবর্তী স্টেশন নেতাজি ভবন। कृपया ध्यान दें